Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau
and Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you are trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you are welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details.
Welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. This is Caitlin, your co-host, and today I have another solo episode coming to you, and we are going to go over pregnancy supplements today because this is something that can get really overwhelming really fast, and I often find clients and friends, followers that are sending me DMs on Instagram and just asking me like, do I need this? Should I do this? Is this like worth trying? And if you are pregnant for the first time, it can feel like the internet is just sending you all of the ads and you're like, do I need this powder, this blend, this, protein powder, like all the things, right? Do I need a $70 prenatal, So if it feels like you all of a sudden need an entire apothecary cabinet just to grow a baby, I want to take a step back here today and reassure you that you do not need 50 supplements in order to have a healthy pregnancy. More does not always equal better. Expensive does not always equal better. And trendy on the internet definitely is not better. So I want to walk you through today. What do you actually need? What is foundational? What might be helpful depending on you? A couple specific situations that tend to be pretty common that you can run by your provider and how to ask them if this is something that I could use, and what is mostly hype. Okay, because I don't want you spending all this energy on chasing new bottles of supplements. I'd rather you focus it on nourishing. So before we even talk specifics, I want to walk you through how I approach supplements in pregnancy and actually, just in general, really. And supplements are exactly what the word says. They supplement. They are not a replacement for food. They are not a replacement for getting adequate sleep and resting when your body is telling you to. So important in pregnancy, right? They do not replace eating enough. They do not replace focusing on your blood sugar stability. And if those are foundations that you do not already have in place, there is no supplement that is going to magically fix it. So we always need to start with, am I eating regularly enough? Am I getting enough protein and fiber and healthy fats to pair with my carbohydrates, right? Our balanced mama method approach. If you don't know what I'm referring to, I will find which episode we talk about that very specifically and link it in the show notes. But are you actually nourishing yourself? Because a well-fed, well-regulated body is always going to outperform just a supplemented but undernourished one. So let's first talk about the actually worth it list. These are the things that are pretty non-negotiable or close to it for most people. And they also have the most consistent evidence-based research and real benefit in the literature. So a quality prenatal. If you have not already been taking one during your trying to conceive process, then I would recommend starting your prenatal as soon as you find out that you are pregnant. And do not freak out if you were not taking one before. You are okay, and your baby will also be okay. It doesn't, again, need to be like fancy. We just need to start something solid. And so a good prenatal is going to cover these things. It's going to include folate. It is going to include iron if you need it. We'll talk about that one a little bit more. It's going to include choline. This is one you really want to check on. That's very important that some prenatals do not have in them. And so you want to make sure that there is not only choline, but adequate choline. You want to make sure that there's iodine, B vitamins, vitamin D. This is another one to just check on in terms of the amount that's in there that is clinically beneficial. A lot of them have vitamin D, but not always enough. And so I want to say the vitamin D, we want to get at least 2,000 in there, but closer to 4,000 IUs typically is better for most people. Again, these are all great questions to specifically talk to your provider about and say, hey, like which prenatal would you recommend for me? So I'm not going to be listing any brand recommendations today, although I do have ones that I can provide, but you want to run them by your provider, right? DHA and EPA, the omega-3s, we want to have in there. These don't always necessarily need to be in your prenatal, but I would recommend doing them separately. So definitely making sure that if they are not in your prenatal, that is okay. But if you are not someone that tends to consume fish on a regular basis, which can be difficult during the first trimester anyways, that you consider adding that one in as well. Because even with like great diet, like wonderful intentionality, pregnancy needs are higher, and those nutrients are going to help with filling the gap. And again, we do not need like this super crazy $75 prenatal. There are good, solid prenatal options on the market that are also reasonably priced. Simple and like consistent, figuring out what works for you is going to be the most important. So I want to circle back around to the DHA and EPA in your omega-3 because, again, these are not always included in a prenatal, I find. And sometimes actually their absorption can just be better if it is separate. And so this one is important for the baby's brain development, nervous system, for your inflammation support, and even after pregnancy, it can be really helpful for postpartum mood support too. So if I had to say like pick 2 supplements for your pregnancy, those are the 2 that I would select. I would pick a good quality prenatal and a good omega-3. So those are like the 2 ones where the research and the evidence is just like really, really strong and make a lot of sense. So those are always a yes for me. Now here is where we get into some more like conditional things. Like these things may be helpful for you if it falls into the category. And these are things, again, I'm saying this over and over, but you want to check with your provider about supplements during pregnancy, right? This information that I am providing today is not medical guidance advice saying like blanket statement, you need this. I am saying here is what the research shows. These are really helpful. Please go bring this to your medical provider, right? Okay. So iron is one of these conditional things if your labs show that you need it. Not everyone is going to need extra iron during their pregnancy. I will say, like, I was completely fine with not taking iron in both of my pregnancies. However, I have clients that end up with lab work where their iron is lower, and this can definitely pop up the further your pregnancy goes along. And so you're going to be having lab work somewhat regularly, and they're going to be checking on these things. And just because too you get labs done and maybe they are low doesn't always necessarily mean that we need to like automatically start with an iron supplement. There's a lot of things that, again, we can do nutritionally first. And so we want to always take those things into consideration as well, that we don't need to automatically, just because something is low, run to supplement. Although there are a lot of people who do, right? And so we're not going to like guess. You don't need to just like automatically start taking iron unless you know that your levels are already low. We're going to test for it because low iron can show up like fatigue, dizziness, headaches, shortness of breath, like you're feeling like wiped out no matter what. It may not like always just be like this is like a normal pregnancy thing. There may be low iron. So it is something that if you're feeling any of those symptoms that you should ask, again, your provider about. So again, like if your levels are fine, we don't need to force this. And this is where like that personalization really does matter. Magnesium is another thing that is situational, but often very helpful. And again, this isn't like mandatory, oh my gosh, automatically go take this. But I will say magnesium, especially specifically magnesium glycinate, is probably my most recommended and favorite supports because it also helps with things like constipation, muscle cramps, sleep, and stress, and headaches, which again can be amplified during pregnancy. And so it can just be like really, really beneficial and again, easily like earns a spot here because it tends to really improve the like quality of life for you. And people notice a difference typically very quickly, which is also like, okay, great win. Great win. Okay. So these are like moving like further away. These are sort of like maybes, helpful sometimes, but maybe they don't necessarily fit in for you. And this would be like a protein powder. And this can be helpful if you're like really struggling to eat enough. You just need some like really simple, quick and easy snacks. You're dealing with a lot of nausea, and something like cold, like a protein smoothie, sounds appealing. So, this can be a convenience, but it's not a necessity. Same thing goes with probiotics. Again, these are more of like a short-term solution. You don't automatically need a probiotic just because now you're pregnant and there's some fluctuations with your digestion, but there's some situations where this can be helpful, particularly if you've had to be like on antibiotics for any reason. Antibiotics can really wipe out both your good and your bad gut bacteria. And so a probiotic after that, I do tend to recommend because that can be really helpful. But if you're experiencing changes in your digestion, we want to look at your nutrition and your hydration and making adjustments there first. Okay. Let's see. Something that I get a lot of questions on too, again, similar to the protein powder, is like collagen. Again, totally fine. You can utilize it during pregnancy, but it's not a requirement. I will say I think it can be nice for like, skin, joints, but it's not necessarily something that has to be like, worried about adding into your supplement stack. Okay. now I want to share what gets overhyped, where I see people maybe, like wasting money on, to be blunt. And it doesn't mean that they're like always bad, right? But things like greens powders and like superfood blends, these kinds of like really big supplement stacks that like take these 12 things, all of these tend to just be like marketing plays, right? Like they are going to say it's all in one, it's boosting, it's balancing. That doesn't mean that it's meaningful. And it's not probably, if you are actually, low or deficient in nutrient, it's probably not going to necessarily fix that. And so again, we want to start with what is our nutrition, what is our food looking like first. That is going to be much more meaningful. Okay. I want to bring this back to our starting message that a nourished pregnancy is not going to be built on these powders and these pills. It's going to be really built on making sure that you are getting enough nutritious foods, enough protein, fiber, that we're paying attention to your blood sugar regulation, your rest, your minerals, your nervous system. We need that foundation, and then our supplements can support, but they are not a foundation, right? You don't have to biohack pregnancy. Your body knows how to grow the baby, and we are here to support it. If you have anything from today, start simple. Make sure you've got a good quality prenatal, maybe that omega-3 that has a DHA and EPA, that you are addressing symptoms and getting appropriate labs with your provider, and you don't need more from there. And if you want more support with food first pregnancy nourishment, this is exactly where I come in, and I can support you in this coming up soon. This is good to be released in February, and I am launching a new cohort of my Nourish to Flourish program. The spaces are limited. However, I will have some spots. And so this is exactly the kind of thing that we teach inside Nourish to Flourish, because the food and the rhythm is always going to outperform the supplement stack. And so if you have questions on this, you want some more information, please feel free to DM me on Instagram at Wholesome Huntress Nutrition, or you can also head to my website, wholesomehuntressnutrition.com, to get more information, and I will leave the link in the show notes. Thank you guys for being here. We will see you next week. I hope you have a good one.